where your technology, for example, lets me get right up personal to an individual family in a way that I never could before. You are this wonderful irony of a mass medium that can go out and talk to individuals. And there's an irony in that for you, because you are the last group from whom anyone is going to believe a mass message. They need to see you and your people as live human beings that they can trust. And then they need to have that verified by some critical opinion leaders who are the kind of folks that they've become accustomed to trusting for advice over time. This has changed the whole way we do community relations in this country. It's changed this whole broader field of building public relationships. So let me just share with you some of the changes and I think what they mean to you. There is no doubt, first of all, that over-communication is the #1 descriptor of modern society. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. Rick talks about breaking through the clutter. The clutter is huge. Have any of you been in the supermarket of the future? Well, probably not. It'll give you some inkling of what it's like when I tell you that they're designing the test model in New Jersey, okay? They're building it in New Jersey, just outside of Newark. Let me just tell you about it if you're not familiar, because I think it just describes what's happening to each of us and to this whole idea of breaking through the clutter. You go into the store, and as you're walking in, you may have noticed, most of you, I assume, have those wonderful little check cashing cards at your handy local supermarket. You may have noticed in the last couple of years they've been getting rid of the paper cards and going to the plastic, just like your credit card. Well, if you look carefully on the back of that is one of those little black codes. And the reason that they're doing that, one of the reasons they're doing that is for the supermarket of the future. Among, some of you are already seeing this, you know, you can do your own check cashing and all that, now you just run it through the little scan. But there's something else about that. Those little black stripes on the back, you may not know technologically, those are metallic. Because they're metallic, you can actually pick them up, you know, with these wonderful CIA instruments. Some plane way up there, you know, can say, oh, that guy down there, that's Rick Jenkinson. I can read it on his credit card. Well, you walk into the store, and there's this device up here that can read your check cashing card, and this voice from on high says, welcome to A&P, Mr. Jackson. You say, holy God, what's going on here? And so you go over and you get a cart, and you start around the store, and you notice this cart is different, because at the end of the cart, there's this big TV screen. Some of you have probably run into this already. And you start down the aisle, and all of a sudden, da-da-da-da, as you're passing Campbell's Soup, on comes the commercial. See? Well, see, stores are no longer going to just sell food. They're also going to be advertising media, competing with you for advertising dollars, because Campbell has paid the store a certain amount of money to have a little triggering device that when you go past the soup, it turns on the camera. Now, other companies aren't as big as Campbell's, and they can't afford it, so they just have a radio version. And when you get down past them, this voice out of nowhere says, don't pass up Heinz. You see, and you go, wow, what's going on here? So you figure, well, what the hell? I mean, I need some soup anyway. So you reach over and you grab a can of soup and you throw it in your basket. Well, these shelves are fitted with a weight device. And when you took that can off, it changed the weight device, which hits an electronic frequency. And the voice then says, but you only took one. Didn't you know we have a 3 for the price of 2 sale on? Grab 2 more and you'll save 17 cents. Well, you know, you go down the aisle, and this is just bombardment. You come to the end of the aisle, and at the end of each aisle is one of those message boards, you know, that the words go around and around and around, and oh, there's another message. And you go through several aisles of this, and you can imagine how you're feeling by now. So finally you're done, and you say, oh, God, at last, I'm going to check out of this place. So you're heading over toward checkout, and you're about 6th in line, and then suddenly you get really disappointed. Because you know you know how checkouts are designed, right? Here's the checkout, and then right at both sides of the checkout are all of those magazines that none of us buy. I know none of us buy those magazines, but we sure as hell read all the covers while we're waiting in line. See, they're not there anymore. We had to move them to the back of the store and put them in plastic wrappers. In fact, that's one of the things that's holding up the supermarket of the future, is that they're afraid customers will object to their weekly entertainment in the Inquirer. But the reason they're out of there is that there's 2 black boxes which control another mechanism, which not only can read your card, but it can read the barcodes that are now a little heavier. If you take some new barcodes and you feel they're a little heavier, they got a little metallic content. So this thing says, Mr. Jackson, we notice you are sixth in line and have no paper towels. It's our special of the week. If you run to aisle 7 just around the corner, you can probably grab a 6-pack and be back without losing your place. Okay? So then you get up ready to check out and there's nobody there. There's no checkout clerk. You run the stuff over the barcode yourself. Instead of, I'm sure this is already happening in the West. There's no checkout clerks. There's just a bunch of cops that walk around the end down there like this. Well, you know, this is a visual deterrence, as they call it. So you won't, you know, you'll run everything over the barcode. And then you sack it up yourself and out you go. But, as you leave, of course, the voice again says, thank you for shopping, you know, whomever Shaw's. And be sure to come back next week when our specials will be. And all the way to the car, they're drowning you with what? Well, I mean, think about that for a minute. It's funny, but this is real. These smart people, this is real. This is how they think we want to live. McDonald's signed a contract, as you probably know, with our friends in Knoxville, Whittle Communications, and in 1,000 McDonald's across the country. You cannot even go in to eat your lunch without this special TV up here, which is blaring commercials at you all the time that you're eating lunch. Well, now, in that kind of a world, you have got an opportunity and a problem. To what extent are you going to be caught up and seen as part of this? And to what extent are you going to be able to break through the clutter to get your critical corporate and product messages across so people can believe them and trust them? Well, in order to talk about that, you have to know the difference between communications and relationships. And I'm not sure we're always clear enough about that, so in a quick minute, let me see if I can make it clear. In an over-communicated world like this, communications, the typical things we do, letters and faxes and brochures and all of that stuff, and even video, is just a kind of a snapshot in time. You know, it's kind of all waiting in line. There's 800 other communications right behind it. And we're lucky if we get a couple of seconds of people's time for these communications. And so it's a questionable investment. I hope you heard that. It's a questionable investment to put a lot of energy into those old-fashioned forms of communication because they're just this quick and they're gone. This is why the advertising industry is going like this, because it's a one-way, impersonal communication, which people have come to distrust anyway. On the other hand, a relationship, you all have relationships, and you know that if you maintain them even just a little, they kind of go on and on and on and on over time. In fact, they can go on as long as you go on if you just give them a little maintenance. Now that's worth investing in, because it's got a longer life. But think for a minute of the wonder of a relationship for the challenge that you face. Let me see if I can put this into sort of a context of a real situation that'll help you see what I'm talking about. You go to a party. Tonight, it's Friday night, what the hell? Party night. You go to a party and you meet Sally, whom you never laid eyes on before, and over the course of the 2, 3, 4 hours, well, some of you I can see, 6-hour party, you get to spend half an hour with Sally. You know, 3 10-minute blocks maybe. You know how it is. It's face-to-face, so you really, you know, you do all that wonderful dog sniffing that we all do to check other people out. And you share your value system. You probably don't talk about values, but you talk about football and sex and where you went to school and about your family. And so your value system comes across. And at the end of the evening, I think the psychologists would agree, you've established a relationship with Sally. And then when you leave, you tell the great American social lie, which is, Sally, we'll have to get together soon. Oh, yeah, sure, of course. And so you never see Sally again for like 3 years. One day you and the gang at coffee break are sitting around and you're flipping the paper, and my God, there's Sally on page 3. There's her picture right there. She's running for office, or well, today more likely she's indicted. But here's Sally, right? What do you say to your friends? What a lie. I know her 3 years ago, half an hour. But the fact is, for our purposes, you do. If you needed access to Sally, if you needed to get to her, or if she remembers you and where you worked, which she probably does, she might want to call you and say, hey, you know, I'm having some real trouble with my cable. Or, hey, what are you guys up to? So here's an unsolicited opportunity. Okay, the question is, how can we replicate thousands of Sallys out there who feel they're kind of part of us? They're customers, but they feel they're kind of part of us. They're kind of part of the family. They're close. They got some trust because we've got this relationship. How can we use relationships to do that? Well, the main value of relationships is that relationships are not based on facts and logic, are they? Or if they are, I'd like each of you to tell me how the hell you chose your partner. I mean, what'd you do? You know, force field analysis? Geez, I'm going out with this guy. He looks pretty good to me. Let's do a little force field analysis here and see if it would work out. And that's not how we do it. Facts haven't got anything to do with how humans make decisions. They make decisions on their perceptions. We know that. Okay, that's, again, why relationships are so powerful. Because relationships are also based on our perceptions of one another, and the critical perception is one of confidence and trust in the other person. And so relationships that can deal with perceptions and misperceptions and all those things because there's something stronger in them than just a base of facts become the tool of modern communication, if you want to call it that, public relations, community relations. Now, if you think I'm just running at the mouth here, you should know that Coca-Cola is collecting the name of every, as far as they hope, every individual Coke drinker in America in their computers. They expect to have 150 million names in those computers by 1996. Why? Because people aren't paying any attention to their mass messages anymore. I mean, think of the stupid mass messages anyway. I mean, take their competitor, Pepsi. They run all those Ray Charles commercials. When they're done, who do you remember, Pepsi or Ray? Well, of course you remember Ray. Not only that, let's assume that message is effective. Remember, a Pepsi commercial to be effective, to motivate behavior, which is the only thing that matters, to motivate behavior should make you thirsty. I never could figure out what there was about Ray Charles that was supposed to make me thirsty, but I'm probably too dense to figure this out. Let's assume that it works. You see the Pepsi commercial and I get thirsty. But I'm a Coke drinker. So I go out to the fridge and I grab a Coke. So Pepsi sold a Coke. See the problems? And this is what everybody is grappling with. This is why Coke wants the names of those individuals, so they can target them one by one. And if in the Boston market, come Wednesday night when all of the barcodes for the week are totted up, and Coke says, oh my Lord, we're falling 2 points behind Pepsi, don't worry, they know who to go to change that, because they've got their names of their drinkers in a computer. So they'll offer them a special, they'll promote something somehow to them, they'll throw an event. Hallmark Cards has 2,500 stores in the United States. They now have on a list every person that visits a Hallmark store more than once per month. Every person. And they're doing relationship building with them of a very interesting kind. Some telephone, some mail, lots of work by the people who man the Hallmark store, so there's that personal relationship. And they have these wonderful funny letters that you get. You know, you can imagine a greeting card company, they do their best humorous greeting card in a letter form. And in about 90-point type, it says, "Hi, Pat!" You know, exclamation point. And the next one says, "Don't get upset. We wouldn't try and sell you anything," you know, ... Then it says, "But Judy, down at Judy's Hallmark, you know, she told me, the snitch, that you visit her store pretty regularly and that you're one of our good customers. And because you are, we're trying a new line of cards. And you know, we don't really trust our own judgment anymore. We've been in this business for 100 years, and we want your help. Now, if you'll take this letter to Judy's, see, and then in big letters it'll say, soon, ! She will let you select from our new line a card of your choice. Free! See, I told you I wasn't trying to sell you anything. And you then send it and let us know what you think. P.S. After that, you're going to have to pay for them, you bum, you know, exclamation point. See? That kind of relationship. Some of their television budget now goes no longer to grandmothers weeping on Grandmother's Day because they just got this card from their 2-year-old granddaughter.